who then never thought about how and when will be the end. I think about it sometimes. It seems tragic, right? But it's something natural, considering that we are finite beings, capable of thinking, planning, and philosophizing about ourselves and everything around us. At this time of the end, the beginning of the year, it seems that everything is more about the skin, right? And nostalgia and the renewal spirit seem to take account of our thoughts. And if it is the tentator thinking about the end of our existence, imagine the pretext of all humanity. It seems much more fascinating. And it's not the case that there are numerous scientific researches trying to answer this question, not just to raise a curiosity, but to raise possible solutions that can understand our passage through here. And that's exactly what we came to present to you in today's video. Let's talk about some studies that collected data from the last mass extinction events to anticipate what the risks we will have to face in the coming years will be. Some phenomena will only be going on here in millions of years, but there are others that are much, much closer, and with a data mark, November of 2026. Currently, what is not missing are threats that may lead us to extinction. Wars, the recording of climate changes, without telling the natural events that are totally out of our control, and taking away those dangers that we ourselves have caused. All the rest is much more common than we can imagine. If we look at a certain perspective, it seems that nature always gives us a way to renew ourselves from time to time. That's what a group of researchers from the University of Bristol, the United Kingdom. Certainly the incident with the dinosaurs is the most known for us. But our planet has already witnessed at least 5 great events like this. And it is not least considered that our house has at least 4.5 billion years. And that life is full of about 3.5 billion years. The first mass extinction is known as the Ordovicianus lurianus, and it happened 445 million years ago, destroying approximately 85% of the species that lived here. At that time, the beings were still concentrated in the oceans, which were precisely the most affected areas. Scientists believe there was a drop in the temperature, which formed huge ice flows, decreasing the level of the seas drastically. After that, the waters went through a period of rapid heating, causing most species not to resist the floods. Another very important event, the extinction of the Permianus, occurred 250 million years ago and eradicated about 95% of the species that lived on Earth, including most of the vertebrates that had already started to evolve. The causes of these incidents are probably related to changes in the atmosphere, but it is not possible to affirm what would have caused them. The main theories say that the planet may have been hit by a large asteroid that blocked the sun and filled the air with particles, producing acid rains. And there are those who defend that a great volcanic explosion may have increased the levels of carbon dioxide, acidifying the air and the oceans. But the most known phenomenon for us certainly was the extinction en masse of the Cretaceous, which happened 66 million years ago. It eliminated about 80% of the living beings on Earth, including the species of non-avial dinosaurs that had survived the last event. This disaster was probably caused by an asteroid that hit Earth in the place where Mexico is today, and which must have been recorded by the increase in volcanic activity in the region where India is today. This contributed to the collapse of the large animals that lived here and that were already adapted to the climate, vegetation, a well-defined food chain, and were unable to survive sudden changes. However, these transformations allowed the rise of a new group of animals that adapted very well to the new conditions and went to reign on the planet. The mammals were able to stand out very well, especially with their aptitude to resist the variations in temperature, one of the things that most affected the beings that came before us. And that's why the mammals were able to spread and conquer basically all the continents on the planet. The mammals can regulate the temperature through the circulatory system, from the glandulas, the pseudoripidas, responsible for their own indica name, through the pelage, the accumulation of fat in the tissue, and even the behaviors, like the species that hibernate during winter, to preserve themselves from the low temperatures and the poor food. The problem is that we are better at heating ourselves than cooling ourselves. Animals that live in very cold climates, or that go through a glacial event, can maintain body temperature more easily than those who need to cool their bodies when they are in very hot climates. And that's why the conclusion of this study of Bristol is that we would probably be able to survive the other era of ice, but we will certainly have difficulties in supporting the consequences of global warming. And here we are not talking about the effects that we are provoking, like the emission of gases that increase, the stuff effect, the deforestation, the use of non-renewable source of energy, and so on. We are talking about something bigger, which will be caused by three main factors: the continent's deriver, the increase in solar radiation, and the increase in the activities of the volcanoes. It happens that the tectonic plates that are moving below our feet will form a new great and unique continent, the ultimate Pangea. This name does not necessarily mean that this will be the last cycle of great continents, but it will probably be the last for us. At this time, our sun will be burning much more hydrogen, which is its fuel, and will emit at least 2.5% more radiation than normal. In addition, the volcanoes will be much more active because of the Placas derives, which will produce more CO2 emissions, producing the already known effect, the Stuff effect. And all this will do with what the average temperature of the Earth is around 40 degrees Celsius at 70, which doesn't seem to be much, but for sure is, considering that this average is today 15 degrees Celsius. It seems strange, but that's it. The average is very influenced by the extremes. So this is an approximate number, even though its city, for example, has never reached this temperature, but stay calm, okay? As long as this is a final time for human beings on this planet, it should not reach 250 million years. Until then, it will be necessary to find another way out. But this does not mean that we have nothing to worry about. In addition to the reasons that have already taken our sleep lately, such as wars, the advance of global warming that we mentioned, there are other dangers caused by ourselves, but not directly. This is a very important issue, and it is about the growing of our population. This factor has already worried many people throughout history, being that Thomas Malthus, economist and British mathematician, was one of the most notorious exponents. Malthus developed the Malthusian popular theory, which was baptized in its homage. In terms of general, it is quite simple. The more people exist in the world, the more people will exist, because the reproduction rate increases exponentially as the number of humans also increases. The issue is that at a certain point, the useful space of the planet Earth will not be able to make everyone happy, and we will also not be able to produce enough food for everyone, what will cause an environmental collapse that can lead to the extinction of our species. Although Thomas Malthus has been one of the most notorious people to talk about the subject, he did not execute the necessary calculations to determine what would be the limit for the growth of our population. This was in charge of Heinz von Forster and his team, who created the final judgment in 1960, a theory that even came to be published in the Science magazine, one of the most respected academic newspapers in the world. According to the calculations of these people, the day in which the human population will reach a point where natural resources will not be able to sustain it, it is not far from us. November 16th, 2026. That's right, less than 2 years. The equation was based on some factors, especially the population growth rates, up to that moment, and the human ability to create resources and renew those who need to be consumed, especially food and fuel. Calm down. We don't need to go into despair, at least not yet. This is because the population growth rates are decreasing in various regions of the world, which partly reduces the risk of immediate collapse. But we cannot close our eyes and ignore the problem. According to the Global Foodprint Network Institute, which measures our consumption of natural resources, on August 1st, this year we reached the overloaded day, the moment in which humanity would have consumed all the resources available for the year. This means that it would be necessary 1.7 Earths to sustain human beings currently. However, we only have a planet. What does this mean? 0.7 remaining. We spend on credit, accumulating reserves, consuming sums. Besides what we should, what will carry our future? At this rate, it is clear that the planet will not be able to sustain for so long, but this does not mean that our end is so close. As I said, we cannot be negligent and continue to ignore the way we live and consume our resources when we realize it will be too late. See you next time.